We've talked about like needing to commit time. We've also talked about committing to losing people, both families and staff who are not in line with values. What are the other things that school leaders need to commit to? Because like my hope is, right, like there are people who are listening to this podcast, right, who are either teachers, parents, community stakeholders, maybe even school leaders who like, hey, if I really want my community, my school community, or my child's school community to be about this, like this is what it costs, and we need to know that. How would you quantify the commitment that a school leader needs to make?
Yeah, I'd say the first is you have to be able to look at yourself, right? And I mean, you can't ask anyone to do something that you are not willing to do yourself. And so any type of self-reflection, any type of like exploration about, your own experiences with education, those are the things that you have to explore. You have to, I think, be willing to push up against the system. Like you have to be willing to say, if someone comes into this building and they're doing some evaluation and they walk through and people are sitting in circle and not looking at the chalkboard, that you're going to back up the staff, right? And that you're not going to fold. I think administrators have to have a vision, right? So when I say like, I think I stay in a hopeful space oftentimes because I am working towards a thing. I'm helping someone work towards a thing. And so it's not enough to say, I want my school to be like a restorative justice school, right? You have to, what does that mean to you? Like as a building leader, like, what does that actually look like? What does that sound like? It's one of the very first questions that we ask administrators, like, telling me you want to implement restorative justice is not really saying anything. Like, what does this actually mean? And I think it is hard for some people to think about what school could be because school's only been one way. And so I think this is where the dreaming part comes in. Like there are dreams that we're able to make reality, but we have to actually be willing to dream. And so a dreamer really, right, who's willing to adjust schedules, to adjust workloads, to, adjust meeting times to be able to make the space. Like if there's an issue and we need to come together and talk about it, like, you're willing to devote the hours sometimes that is necessary in the day to be able to do that. And that may mean subs, right? And so, but I think you have to be willing to talk about race and racism. Like you cannot do this work and not be honest about those things, right? You have to be able to be willing to listen and center the experiences of those who are most pushed to the margin. So whoever that is in your community, when you close your eyes and think about what you're doing, and if school is working, school needs to work for those folks. If that's your staff, because, as you were saying, there are staff who are pushed to the margins as well. If that's your students, if that's your families, like, and you need to hold them, because if school is working well for them, it'll work well for everyone else. Like we know that, like research says that. And so, but if you can't talk to your staff about race and racism and all the other isms and the role that they play in education, then you can't do this work, right? Because you're not doing the work fully. And I think it is a lot. That's a lot to ask. And I think where systems kind of make the mistake is that the expectation that everyone is ready to do it, and they're not, right? And so I think you can get people ready. But the same thing for systems. If you start with the administrators who are ready, who have done that work, and start with them, then the hope is, and sometimes what I've seen is that other principals start to pay attention. This school was a different school 6 years ago. What happened in the course of time where now you have people wanting to be in the school? Like you want staff who were leaving the school now want to be in that school. Like what has happened? And I think you also have to value something more than test scores. Because I mean, this is my own personal, thinking. Like test scores are such an arbitrary way to measure anything. And so if you are driven by performance data, and so you're worried that because you're stopping, like the test scores are going to go down, like you really can't be focused on those things. Like, and I think part of it is also you have to be willing to listen to what the community wants and what the community needs, and listen to young people. They will tell you what school should be and how it should be. and, you know, holding families in a good way. And so if you're not someone who believes in sharing power with other people, especially people who are younger than you, then this work can also be challenging, because it really is acknowledging that the wisdom really resides within the people who you're serving.